Today, we will talk about Jordan Peterson's life advice will leave you speechless. The world has been enthralled by clinical psychologist, professor, and cultural critic Jordan Peterson's deep insights and provocative viewpoints on life, society, and personal accountability. His best-selling books, talks, and interviews have made him incredibly well-known and resonated with millions of people who are looking for direction, meaning, and guidance in their lives. Peterson defies common sense with his ageless life lessons that have the capacity to stop you in your tracks and completely change the way you live. Let's explore the core of Peterson's wisdom and the transformative lessons he imparts. Before we dive deep into it, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let's get started. I was asked about prayer. I wondered if I prayed, but it depends on what you mean. I don't ask God for favors or wishes, but I think if you sit on the edge of your bed and ask, what silly thing are you doing to make it worse? You'll get an answer right now that won't be what you want. However, listening to it may clear things up. I don't think I ever sat down and said, okay, all right, I'm willing to figure out what I'm doing wrong, which is huge because you never know how much you're doing wrong, and it may be something you don't want to deal with. However, if you take time to think about that, you'll likely find something stupid you did that's bending and twisting you in the wind. If you think about a problem, you can find a solution, but how is unclear? No, it's not like you're manipulating your neurons or anything that happens of its own accord in some sense, like you can participate within it, I guess, and you can interfere with it. And it seems to take a certain amount of willpower, but it still all happens mysteriously behind the scenes. I'd say this sort of attitude toward, let's say, prayer is just an extension of that and something like, well, you admit that most religions have something emerge from the abyss to guide you. Humility is stressed because it says, I have a problem and I'm stuck and whatever I'm doing isn't working and therefore I'm wrong. So as soon as you say that, you admit to yourself that your current frame of reference is faulty and open the door to a different kind of thinking, which is more creative and lateral. Each time you find one, you're less wrong. Very good value. One thing I stressed in 12 was life rules. In my first book, Maps of Meaning, I wrote that you must decide at some point in your life whether you love what you know or what you don't. When people enjoy what they know, you don't want to shake it or challenge it. Not surprising, however, unless everything's flawless, you don't know enough. You organize everything flawlessly, like your ignorance surpasses your wisdom. Make friends with something you don't know. Compare yourself to yesterday, not to someone else, to find your success indicators, right? You can wind yourself up in the condition you described, where individuals are always better at anything you want to imagine. It will be pretty depressing if all you do is see yourself in their reflection. It's a poor comparison. First of all, comparing yourself to others is dangerous because they're not you, and God only knows what challenges they had to overcome or what loads they're bearing. You know nothing about that. You can contrast yourself with yourself. Much better. I advise folks to construct a lousy plan while developing a life vision for an implementable plan. Make the best one you can, but don't worry about it. Make a plan, implement it, and you'll figure out why it's foolish. You can fix it a little, it will fix a little more, and you fix it more. You ultimately acquire an excellent plan. People now view the world in many ways. You could argue that there are infinite ways to understand the world. That confuses you about what to do. A huge variety of ways to perceive the world doesn't mean there are many productive, meaningful, and sustainable ones. You must find out how you behave today to avoid upsetting the apple cart in a week, month, or year. You're playing an iterative game. The New Testament emphasizes day-to-day living, especially in the Sermon on the Mount. One of the things I often have my clients do is tell a story about one client who spent 45 minutes a night fighting with his young son when to go to bed. They weren't enjoying it because it was a constant conflict. It's common. For instance, parents of young children often fight daily. It can be feeding, toilet training, behavioral concerns, or bedtime. We calculated 40 minutes a day. The weekly total is 280 minutes. That's 240 hours a year at 6 work weeks, 5 hours a week and 20 hours a month. That's a month and a half of work weeks spent fighting with your son. Don't deceive yourself into liking him. Daily activities make up a large part of your life because of your 16-hour week. 5 are maintenance. So about 11, 7 are at work. Only 4 remain. So if you spend 15 minutes a day doing something painful and stupid, it's 10% of your productive life. Backwards thinking leads to, I have a vacation coming up. That's crucial. No, you'll only do it once. Lunchtime behavior isn't crucial if you dine together every day. That's your life. Fix that, get it, for nice meals. Fix it so you like the individuals sitting there. Poof, 10% of your life is fixed. The voice of conscience, your internal judge, has a general aspect, so it's evaluating you glitchedly, though not inaccurate, it's trite and uninformed. So you want to talk to that all your life, since it needs to learn, so does what it judges. It's not that different from a long-term relationship like a marriage because you're constantly communicating with each other, you're modifying each other's communication, and you have to judge what you need because it makes you alert, watchful, and consider your actions. But that internal voice isn't God and doesn't know everything, so it must learn. I think it's appropriate to discuss it and not assume that simply because the judge says something is bad, it's right. It makes you want to say no. I'll resist that internal voice. It may be right and you want to listen, but it needs to learn. Always consider the cost of your current actions to start that dialogue, right? People seem to think my current actions are risk-free. Here are a few choices. No, what you're doing has all kinds of risks, but you're ignorant of them. You've adapted to them, making them unnoticeable. But you can't wait to improve things if you think what you're doing is safe. When they see me clinically, I may help them choose a job. So they say I may need to switch jobs. Okay, what's stopping you? Lots of stuff, right? I work. That gives me security. My CV is outdated. People dislike CV updates, partly because it's hard. Also, they're not proud of it, right? Even if they updated it, it wouldn't express what they wanted. So upgrading your CV means updating your life. That's complicated. Like most people, you may dislike being interviewed and judged. You may not like that if you hunt for another job, you'll get 50 rejections for every acceptance. There seem to be a lot of bad things to face when changing employment. So you think I'll avoid the risk because it's too big? Risk of doing what you're doing? It's easy to accelerate suffering at 35. You don't change jobs, you'll be 40. You can't believe how fast. It'll happen. Like 5 years. But it does. The same thing happened overnight. Be the same, but worse if you haven't changed. That's another option. If you don't find your work productive, responsible, meaningful, engaging, etc., this is the choice. Life is meaningful or meaningless. First, let's consider the pointless part. I don't want it to be meaningless. Wait, hang on. None of your efforts matter. Impulsive pleasures and no responsibilities are the norm. Like Pleasure Island, Nokia, or Peter Pan's Neverland, you can do whatever you want. Still a child. Play whenever, impulsively, and without responsibility. You get that for meaninglessness. You want your life to be significant, but there's another side. Okay, your actions matter. Really important, right? It hurts to make mistakes. Harms family, harms the planet more than you realize. You must be aware. This is it for today. Let us know if Peterson's life advices help you in making your lives better. Share this video and have a great day.